It's time to remove the bolts that are holding your manifold on. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here and 1 through this hole here. So you'll need a extension arm for that, all 10mm. Let's get those off. Okay, we've got our 7 10mm bolts removed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 in there, in that hole, 6 and 7. There is also a bracket underneath the body. You can feel it with your hands. It's a 13mm, which is basically attaching it to a little bracket to the block to secure it. Ideally, you need to remove the dipstick pipe, which is here. There's a bolt just underneath here which bolts it again to the inlet manifold. This one won't budge, so I'm going to attempt to remove it with the dipstick in place. Technically it should be the bolt that's retaining it at the top to the head, and then it should just wiggle out, but this one seems to be quite well seized in there, and obviously I don't really want to break it, so I am now going to have a go at trying to remove the body while that pipe is there. It's not going to be easy, it might not work, but we're going to give it a go. Okay. So far so good. Pull that manipulator up, and there you go. Sheet is out. Okay, there is your 13mm bolt that's underneath. This is your throttle body, which is covered in oil. Right, manifold removed. If you look in there, in what is that hole there, that is where your PCV valve is. It is very oily in there. If I wiggle it about, you can see the oil around the neck. Now, it just should not be like that. Now, I'm going to slide that out. Basically, I'll do it with a screwdriver, but I need both hands. And there should be an O-ring in there, and obviously it's all perished and it's letting oil into the manifold. The manifolds themselves are quite oily as well. I'll come back to you in a second when I've retrieved it. Right, just pressing a screwdriver in the centre, pulls it out. There's your valve. It's really quite oily. Obviously that O-ring there, it's very hard to see it, but it's very oily around there. So we're going to change that. And I will demonstrate as well. This is a one-way valve fundamentally, and I imagine if I blow down both ends it will go through each way. 1 second, I'll try it out. Right, here we have the fending part. I've cleaned it up a little bit. As much as I love sucking oily parts, it's a bit gummy. Now, this is the new one. It's a genuine Saab one. It's about £15. They're not a fortune. Pain in the ass to get to, but they're not dear. This is the new one. It's basically fundamentally a one-way valve. If I blow down that end, the air goes through. If I go on the other end, nothing at all. The old one, if I do this, love a drop of oil. Oh, joy. It's not even good quality oil. I only drink Mobile one. And the other end, you can hear it's leaking a bit. New one. Nothing. Anyway, right, we're going to clean the head up and reinstate it. Basically a bit of lube around the O-ring, pop it back in, and then we can put the manifold back on with a new gasket. Right, okay, we're going to just give it a good spray out with some brake and clutch cleaner. Clean all that oil and crud out of there, and give it a blast up down its hole. Get rid of any debris if we can, like that. And that's pretty much it. All gone inside. Going to give it another little rinse out, and then we'll start to reassemble it, and then also clean the gunk off of this face and make sure that nothing is inside that manifold before we reinstate it. Okay, new valve installed. It slots in quite easily, and I basically used the back end of a ratchet handle just because it fits in there quite nicely. Put a bit of oil, a bit of lube around the O-ring, and then just give it equal pressure, and it will just literally pop back into place. Okay, we're going to clean the faces up on the car and remove this old gasket. Give the manifolds a bit of a clean up and start to reinstate the throttle body. Sorry, the throttle body. I've lost the plot today. It's that oil, it was rubbish. Must have been like Tesco's own or something. Anyway, yeah, the inlet manifold. It's time for a cup of tea, I think. Cleaned the face up and put in the new, genuine in this case, Saab inlet manifold gasket. Right, the manifold went back considerably easier than it came out. Something to check, underneath here there's that little bracket that supports it from underneath. Make sure you put your hand underneath there and pull it out, because it wants to go inward and it will prevent you from lining up properly on the two locating studs that are in fact on the manifold. So that's just, put your hand underneath it while you're assembling it, and you'll feel the bracket, and make sure you pull it forward slightly so it doesn't stop you from getting a flush mount. Now we'll start to put the screws back in and bolt it up tight. Right, we've got the 7 bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4 hiding under there, 5, 6 and 7. They're all in and bolted up tight. Don't over thread them, don't over tighten them, for goodness sake. Be very careful with them. The bracket has been reinstated here, 1 bolt there and another bolt there. That's this bracket that holds that harness there. The 2 vacuum pipes on the front of the inlet manifold, the clicky one, the white clicky one goes on the right hand side, and the rubber one goes on the left hand side, and that basically goes underneath and comes back up, and it will marry up eventually when we get there to, where's the camera gone? To the end of that. And I've put the 13mm bolt in, which is literally, if you can make out where my fingers are going, literally under there. Quite easy to put it back in, but that's basically the manifold all nice and snug. So we'll get up to the next stage. I'm just going to clean the face here and install the new gasket for the throttle body, and then we'll put the ECU back and finish off the remainder of the vacuum pipes and make sure that everything's secure and nothing's rubbing against anything. Okay, just to recap, we've bolted up the inlet manifold on the 7 bolts, put the bolt in at the bottom underneath, which secures that additional bracket. I've put the 4 bolts in that hold the ECU in situ, and remember, you've got, I'm just going to straighten this out a bit, you've got the one with the earth strap on it. Okay, this plug, you see that? No, because you're, why can't you see me? Oh right, okay, I'm not in frame, sorry. This one clips back into there. That I still haven't finished with yet, so we're going to leave that like that, and then we can put the new throttle body gasket in and incorporate the long bolts that go in the bottom. It's a little bit fiddly widdly. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the gasket on there like that. I want to knock you out of sync. That's pretty cool. Right, okay, let's see what we can do here. Slide that under like that, and hopefully that's it. Locate that one there, and then we'll put no, wrong one. So your two longer studs go in the bottom two holes of your throttle body, and then we can push that in there, get it out of the way. Locate even that one into there like that, and then your two go in there, bar 1 and 2. Right, we'll nip those up, and then this bracket will go on top of there with a further 2 bolts. Right, the bracket which finishes off with the second set of nuts on the 2 lower throttle body brackets are done. We need to just free these up, cut those away, and then we are now looking, I'll tell you what I'm going to do there, take that off of there a minute, and then we're going to gently, if you line these up, all right, they'll locate nice and gently, and then push gently and then lift, and you'll see the back. You see that? There's a lug there. As you lift and push, bang, they're in nice and gently. No effort required. Okay, so we lift, make sure this is all the way down, put it on gently, it will locate as far as it wants to go, then lift and just give it a little push from behind all the way until you hear it snap. That is your ECU reinstated. And we've done the vacuum pump, the blue one, which is attached to all this vacuum bit of stuff here. That pipe sits in there, and then we reinstate that one on there, and that little one that comes off of there goes just there by the side of that sensor. Right, we are there, apart from connecting up so hard with one hand. There she blows. Right, I'm just going to nip that up, and then I'll be onto the spark plugs in a second, because we're going to clean those because we know they were fouling before. Okay, time to remove the 4 10mm bolts which hold the coil packs into position, because we need to just check the spark plugs, as the fault originally on the software program was showing sooty plugs, which we found the first time around, but now we have changed the PCV valve, the crankcase breather, and replaced the throttle body gasket along with the manifold inlet gasket. Let's have a look at the spark plugs and see how they were They're not terrible, but they were black before. So cleaning out the oil from the inlet manifold last week paid off a little bit, but as you saw earlier, it was back. And of course the sooting has started to build up around the plug. So I'm going to take all 4 out, clean them up and put them all back, and then we should be ready to fire her up. Spark plugs checked, all pretty sooty, not too bad, not as bad as they were a few weeks ago when it first came in and I diagnosed the fault. They're all cleaned up and back in. They were brand new, the plugs, a few weeks ago. So we appear to be all bolted up nice and tight. So we're going to go ahead and fire her up. Okay, let's see how we go. I expect it to run a little bit rumpy, I was going to say then, for a little while, because a lot of carb cleaner and stuff has gone inside the ports. It's on cold idle at the minute, so it'll drop down in a second. The engine management light was coming on intermittently the second time around. When the fault first occurred 2 weeks ago, it came on, it stayed on, it was a bit spluttery and performance was lost. Whereas now it was coming on and off, and I guess that's just as it was building back up again. Sometimes it was better than others. So we are going to plug it in shortly and just clear any memory, any faults that are logged, and so it's got a clean start, and then we'll take it out for a test run. But other than that, lovely. Okay, it's been running a few minutes now. It's settled down quite nicely, running quite smoothly. The idle has certainly trimmed out, so I'm just going to plug it in and clear any historic faults on the ECU, and it's good to go. Okay, welcome back to the final stage of this job. We are gonna just check the memory for any issues. Hang on a second. So we select diagnostics. Oops, gone past it. Where are you? Oh, Saab. Yeah, V1130. 93 Sport. 2006. We'll do a smart scan. And that's basically scan and the gaskets, cleaned it all out, cleaned the spark plugs, and I would imagine now that we should be done and dusted. So thanks for watching, hope you liked it. My top tip for the day is never clean your kettle out with toilet cleaner, and because your tea will taste like a bouquet of flowers for months. And also it does clean your kettle, but what a fragrance. Oh, gotta buy a new kettle. Thanks for watching, give us a like. Thank you, take care, bye.